I think that we have taken a right and decisive initiative by organizing this summit on the African economies. Just have a look at the current situation. Developed countries have invested more than 25% of their GDP to fight against the consequences of the crisis and to engage a very strong economic recovery. In Africa, it is less than 2% of their GDP. So the risk now is to have a great divergence between African countries on one side and developed countries on the other side. This would be a very important danger, not only from an economic point of view, but a real danger for security, for peace, for stability, for illegal immigration. So I really urge everybody to be aware of the current situation of the African countries and to be aware of the necessity of putting more money for Africa, not only through grants, but also through the investments on the small and middle-sized enterprises in Africa to support the African entrepreneur, which are at the core of the economic recovery in Africa. But we should all be aware of the necessity of putting more money on Africa and on the African economy. We have already decided with Kristalina Georgieva, the head of the IMF, to issue $650 billion of new SDRs. Among these $650 billion, only 33 will go to Africa. It's not enough. We need to reach the number of 100% of $100 billion for Africa. This is our strategic goal, and we will do our best efforts within the G7 and within the G20 to reach that goal.
And absolutely another important issue for the G7. Another thing that I presume will come up at the G7 is Monsieur Macron tackling President Biden and perhaps the host, Mr. Johnson, as well, and saying, look, it's all very well talking about the IP waivers on vaccines, but you, Anglo-Saxon countries, are stopping the exports. You're stopping the ingredients going overseas as well. Is that accurate, sir?
No, we are not tackling anybody. And I'm deeply convinced that the British G7 will be a great success. I have an excellent relationship with my counterpart, Rishi Sunak. We are working very well together. And I'm deeply convinced that on the economy, on the financial issues, we will do a great job together. Rishi is a great chancellor of the exchequers, and we are working very well together. But on vaccines, the fact is that we are exporting more vaccines than the US do. That's a fact. We have already exported a very important number of vaccines to Africa. President Biden made a proposal on intellectual property, which is on the long term a very interesting proposal. And we are sharing the assessment of President Biden that there is a need for having intellectual property being reconsidered when we are talking about vaccines. But the fact is that the emergency is to provide vaccines to Africa and is to export more vaccines to Africa. And that's exactly what the European countries have done. We are not criticizing anybody. We are just saying, well, there is a need for immediate action, and immediate action is to export vaccines to African countries.